Hey friends, let's paint this whimsical Christmas watercolor together. The supplies I've used in this video are Arches cold pressed 140 pound watercolor paper. I've used LeBeau watercolors, but you can use any brand of watercolor. I've used the colors Cranmerry, Blue Without You, It's About Lime, and Coral's the New Orange. I've used a Silver Brush Limited round number 8 brush and a Master's Touch round number 2 brush available at Hobby Lobby, water, and a paper towel. Let's get started. Before I started painting, I did a sketch in pencil of where I wanted different trees to go. And then I taped off triangles going in different random directions and some of them going off the edges of the page. Next, I took a green-blue color. This one is called Blue Without You. Using a fine brush, I just make slanted strokes going in different directions. Do this on each tree that's taped off. I'm going to speed up the video here. The next step is to add a second color. You'll need to decide if you want to dry the first color before adding the second color or not. I left mine wet because I like the colors to blend together. I like the bleeds that I get when this happens. So again, using the wet on dry method, I'm going to add Cranmerry in the same fashion. When you're painting these strokes, you're going to crisscross in the same fashion over the first set of lines. I'm sorry, my camera is trying to focus on my hand. We're going to do the same thing a third time with a third color. Here I'm using It's About Lime. We'll continue this fashion with a fourth color. I'm using Coral's the New Orange. You want to make sure this is completely dry and then begin slowly peeling off your tape. I have these trees I've drawn that have 3 triangles stacked. I'm just going to go through and erase all of them so there's just a shadow of my pencil sketch. When we're painting these trees, we'll do the top and the bottom tiers first. This first tree, I'm using wet on wet. I'm going to lay the water down first, grab some color, and then just outline my shape and drop color where I want it. I'm leaving some of it lighter than other areas because I'm going to come back in and drop in a second color. On this tree, I'm going to outline wet on dry, then come into the center and fill it in with clear water, pulling color from the outline. So that's how you can do wet on dry. I like to go back in and just drop a little bit of color in the corners of what I've already painted. I do use both methods, the wet on wet and the wet on dry, but I prefer the wet on wet, I think. It seems a little easier to me, and I also like the way it looks at the end once I've let the watercolor and the water mix and do whatever it wants to do. Here I went back to wet on dry, and I have some harsh lines you'll notice on the right hand side. You can cover that by dropping more watercolor in or by gently rubbing it out with your brush and water. Next, I'm going to take a lime green. I'm using It's About Lime, and I'm just going to drop a little bit into random places in each triangle. I do realize these are not triangles now. Some of them are trapezoids, but I'm calling them triangles, okay? For the next step, these have to be completely dry. So either dry it with a heat gun or let it dry naturally. Either way, it's fine. Now we're going to do the exact same thing on the middle triangles. Next, I'm going to go back through and I'm just going to drop some of the lime green in. I have some bending Christmas trees. I'm just going to go through and erase all of those. Using It's About Lime and a wet on dry technique, I'm going to go ahead and fill in the green part of the tree. Just go through this whole process, repeat this step for all the trees done in this style. Once you're done, but they're still wet, go back in and drop a little bit more pigment into the corners of your trees. You can even do a little bit darker green, like Blue Without You, if you want. I like to gently brush out some of the harshness. Let this dry or use a heat gun. It needs to be completely dry for the next step. Next, I'm going to use a fine tip brush. I'm going to use a coral color. This one is called Coral's the New Orange, and I'm just going to do little swirly lines, making little loops from one side of the tree to the other. I'll leave this video at normal speed here for a little bit longer just so that you can get a feel for how to do this. I'm having trouble here because my green layer is not fully dry. Now I'm going to fill in the stars using a dark red color. I'm using Cranmerry. Using a brown, I'm using pots of clay. We're going to draw trunks on each tree. While the trunks are still wet, go back through and drop a little bit of a darker color into the brown. I like to use dark gray or black. This one is called Gray in Nature. Let this dry. Using Coral's the New Orange, I'm going to make sizable circles in areas of my paper where it looks bare. I'll paint a few going off the edge of the page. You don't need to make these perfectly round. In fact, it gives it more character if they're imperfect. Next, I'm just going to go back through and darken some of the circles. Taking Cranmerry, I'm going to make even larger circles. We're going to do the same thing we did with the coral in a sort of random pattern. I sort of hide this one behind this trunk by doing a now you see me, now you don't sort of technique. Do this wherever you think it looks like it needs this color or space needs filled in. Sometimes I go back through and I'll enlarge some of the smaller circles. Now let's add larger coral circles. Now it's time for smaller Cranmerry circles. We're really just filling in empty space. It's okay if some of your circles touch, it makes it cute and random. Let's add some It's About Lime circles, and it's okay to add different sizes at the same time this time. Start filling in empty spaces with small circles. And that's it. I hope you enjoyed this fun little Christmassy, wintry, whimsical watercolor. And I hope you'll make sure to show me. I can't wait to see what you do. Thank you so much for being here.